What if I told you that there's a prayer so powerful, it can begin reshaping your reality in less time than it takes to brew your morning coffee? I'm talking about a technique that doesn't require hours of meditation, complicated rituals, or years of spiritual practice, just 21 seconds. 21 seconds that could be the bridge between the life you're living right now and the life you've been dreaming about. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Another prayer technique? Another manifestation method? But here's what makes this different and why I'm so excited to share this with you today. This isn't about begging the universe for what you want. It's not about repeating affirmations until you're exhausted. This is about tapping into something far more profound, an energetic shift that operates beyond the limitations of ordinary prayer. Has this ever happened to you? You've prayed, you've hoped, you've asked for change, but somehow it feels like your words are just dissolving into empty space, never quite reaching their destination. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Here's what most people don't understand about prayer. They think it's about asking, about pleading, about trying to convince some distant force to grant their wishes. But what if prayer was never meant to be a conversation with something outside of you? What if true prayer is actually an internal transformation, a shift in your own consciousness that automatically reorganizes everything around you? This is exactly what I discovered while diving deep into the lesser-known teachings of Joseph Murphy, one of the greatest minds in understanding the power of the subconscious mind. Now, Murphy wrote extensively about the creative power of thought, but buried within his vast body of work are principles that most people never encounter. I'm talking about teachings that go beyond his popular books, lectures that were recorded but rarely discussed, concepts that center around what Murphy called the I am principle. And when I stumbled upon this particular technique, something clicked. It wasn't just theoretical anymore. It became real, tangible, immediate. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might surprise you. It might even challenge everything you thought you knew about how manifestation actually works. See, this prayer technique operates on an energetic level that transcends words. It's not about what you say, but about the state you embody when you say it. When you speak from the correct mental and emotional frequency, something remarkable happens. Your entire vibration shifts, and when your vibration shifts, your reality has no choice but to follow. This isn't mystical thinking. This is understanding how consciousness shapes experience, how assumption creates fact, how the feeling of already being becomes the gateway to having. The most beautiful part? It only takes 21 seconds. But in those 21 seconds, if done correctly, you're not the same person you were before. You've shifted from the version of yourself who is waiting, hoping, and seeking, to the version who already is, who already has, who already... And this is where things get really interesting, because when I first tested this prayer, I wasn't entirely sure what to expect. I'd studied Murphy's work for years, understood the principles intellectually, but applying them in such a concentrated, precise way, that was new territory. So I decided to experiment with it, approaching it with an open mind, but also with a healthy dose of curiosity. And here's what happened. Within hours, not days, not weeks, but hours, small things started shifting. Now, I'm not talking about earth-shattering changes right away. That's not how this journey typically unfolds. It started with what most people would call coincidences. A text message from someone I'd been thinking about, an unexpected opportunity that seemed to appear out of nowhere. Little synchronicities that on their own you might dismiss as random. But when they start stacking up one after another, you begin to realize something deeper is at play. It's as if the universe starts speaking your language, sending you these subtle confirmations that yes, something has shifted in your consciousness, and now the external world is catching up. What fascinated me most wasn't just that these signs appeared, but how quickly they showed up. This wasn't a long, drawn-out process of waiting and wondering. The impact was immediate, tangible, and undeniable. And that's when I understood the hidden truth behind Murphy's teachings. When you pray from a state of already being rather than a state of wanting, you collapse. The time between intention and manifestation. You're not sending out desperate signals into the void. You're making a decisive internal shift that reverberates through every layer of your reality. If this resonates with you, subscribe to the channel. I'm here sharing practical techniques for consciousness and manifestation that create real change. But here's where the real transformation began. After those initial signs, after those first few synchronicities confirmed that something was working, bigger changes started to unfold. I'm talking about life-altering events, the kind of shifts that fundamentally change your trajectory. New opportunities emerged that weren't just convenient. They were exactly aligned with what I'd been visualizing. Relationships deepened in unexpected ways. Financial situations improved seemingly out of nowhere. These weren't minor adjustments to my circumstances. These were revelations of possibility I hadn't even considered before. And the most powerful part, none of it felt forced. It wasn't like I was pushing and striving and trying to make things happen. It was more like doors began opening naturally, as if they'd been waiting for me to step into the right mindset all along. That's the real impact of this technique. It doesn't just change your external circumstances. It transforms who you are being. And from that transformed state, a completely different reality becomes available to you. Your decisions change. Your energy changes. The way you move through the world changes, and the world in turn responds to that new version of you. Now, I want to go even deeper into this because understanding why this works is just as important as knowing that it works. There's a mechanism behind this transformation, a principle that Murphy spent his entire life teaching. And when you grasp it, everything about manifestation suddenly makes sense. The prayer itself is only 21 seconds. But what's happening in those 21 seconds is a complete reorganization of your subconscious programming. If this is resonating with you, write in the comments, "I'm ready for this shift." See, here's what makes this so accessible, so beautifully simple. We're not talking about a lengthy ritual that requires you to carve out huge chunks of your day. This prayer takes exactly 21 seconds. That's it. 21 seconds, less time than it takes to scroll through a few social media posts, less time than waiting for your coffee to finish brewing. And yet, in those 21 seconds, you're initiating a transformation that can ripple through every aspect of your existence. Think about that for a moment. No matter how chaotic your schedule is, no matter how many demands are pulling at your attention, you have 21 seconds. Everyone does. And those 21 seconds become the gateway to a completely different reality. But here's what most people miss when they first hear about this technique. They think the brevity somehow diminishes its power, as if something that takes such little time couldn't possibly create real change. That's the hidden truth about how consciousness works. It's not about duration, it's about intensity. It's not about how long you pray, but about the depth of the state you enter when you do. Murphy understood this profoundly. He knew that one moment of true conviction, one instant of complete alignment with your desire, carries more creative power than hours of half-hearted hoping. The 21-second framework is actually strategic, not arbitrary. It's long enough to fully immerse yourself in the feeling, to speak the words with intention and let them sink into your subconscious, but short enough that your conscious mind doesn't have time to interfere with doubt or analysis. You're not giving yourself the opportunity to second guess, to question, to spiral into "what if this doesn't work" thinking. You're making a decisive shift and completing it before resistance can even show up. That's the beauty of this approach. It bypasses all the mental obstacles that typically sabotage manifestation work. Now, there's another crucial element to this practice that amplifies its impact significantly. When you speak this prayer, you need to close your eyes. And I know that might sound like a minor detail, but it's absolutely essential. Here's why. Your eyes are constantly processing external information, scanning your environment, feeding your brain data about what currently is. When you close your eyes, you're temporarily disconnecting from the physical reality in front of you. You're creating an internal space where your imagination becomes more real than your circumstances. You're shutting out all the evidence that might contradict what you're claiming, all the distractions that might pull you away from the feeling you're cultivating. This is where the real work happens, in that dark, quiet space behind your closed eyelids. That's where you can fully step into the state of already being, already living the reality you desire. Without visual input from the external world, your subconscious mind becomes far more receptive. It stops arguing with you. It stops comparing your words to what it sees. Instead, it begins accepting the imagery and emotion you're creating internally as the new truth. This is the journey from outer awareness to inner conviction, and your closed eyes are the doorway that makes that transition possible. Murphy taught that imagination creates reality, but imagination isn't just wishful thinking. It's the ability to feel and see something so vividly in your mind that your subconscious accepts it as fact. And when your subconscious accepts something as fact, it mobilizes all your resources, conscious and unconscious, to make that internal image an external experience. Closing your eyes isn't just about blocking out distraction. It's about giving your inner vision the space to become more powerful than your outer vision, even if just for those 21 seconds. If you're starting to see how profound this simple act really is, type in the comments, eyes closed, heart open. But closing your eyes is only part of the equation. How you speak this prayer matters just as much as the words themselves. And here's something that might surprise you. You don't need to speak it loudly. In fact, the opposite is true. This prayer should be whispered softly, almost like you're sharing a sacred secret with the deepest part of yourself. There's immense power in that softness, in that quiet intimacy. When you speak softly, you're not performing for anyone. You're not trying to prove anything to the external world. You're having a private conversation with your subconscious, and that's where all transformation originates. What makes this technique so effective is the emotional component woven into every word. Murphy was adamant about this. Feeling is the secret. You can say the right words 1,000 times, but if there's no genuine emotion behind them, they're just empty sounds bouncing around in your head. The subconscious mind doesn't respond to logic or repetition alone. It responds to feeling. It responds to the energy you infuse into your thoughts. When you speak this prayer with authentic emotion, with the feeling that what you're claiming is already real, you're sending a signal that your subconscious cannot ignore. You're creating energetic alignment between what you desire and what you are embodying in that moment. If something shifted for you here, hit that like button. It helps others find this message when they need it most. This is where so many people miss the mark in their manifestation journey. They focus on the technique, on the words, on the steps, but they forget to actually feel. They're going through the motions without activating the emotions. It's like trying to start a car without fuel. The mechanics are all there, but nothing's going to move. Your feelings are the fuel. Your emotions are what breathe life into your intentions and transform them from abstract concepts into living realities. When you feel it deeply as you speak it softly, something shifts at a cellular level. Your entire being begins to vibrate at the frequency of your desire, and that vibration is what magnetizes your reality toward you. Now here's the part that might seem counterintuitive, but it's absolutely critical to the success of this practice. Once you've said this prayer, once you've felt it deeply for those 21 seconds, you need to keep it to yourself. Don't tell anyone what you prayed for, don't share it on social media, don't excitedly call your best friend to talk about it. This isn't about being secretive for secrecy's sake. This is about protecting the energy you've just created. Think about it like a seed you've just planted. If you dig it up every day to check on it, to show people, to talk about whether it's growing, you disturb the soil and interrupt the natural process. The same principle applies here. The hidden truth behind this secrecy is that every time you share your intention with someone else, you're potentially exposing it to their doubts, their skepticism, their limiting beliefs. Even well-meaning people can unintentionally project their own fears onto your dreams. A casual comment like, "That's a big goal," or "I hope that works out for you," carries subtle energy that can create interference in your manifestation. It plants seeds of doubt where there should only be certainty. By keeping your prayer silent, you're creating a protected space where your manifestation can unfold naturally, powerfully, without external contamination. There's also something deeply transformative about holding a secret intention. It builds inner strength. It cultivates a quiet confidence that doesn't need external validation. You're not looking for approval or encouragement from others. You're resting in your own knowing, in your own conviction. This is the mindset of someone who has truly shifted from hoping to being. You're not asking permission from the world to become what you desire. You're already becoming it, silently, powerfully, behind the scenes of your visible life. And that silent transformation is often the most profound. If this principle resonates with you, drop in the comments, "My manifestation is protected." This silence isn't passive, though. It's active. It's generative. When you hold your intention in that sacred, protected space, something remarkable happens behind the scenes of your conscious awareness. Your desire begins to take root in the fertile soil of your subconscious mind, and it starts organizing all the elements necessary for its manifestation. Think of it like a butterfly in a cocoon. The transformation is happening, but it needs that enclosed, protected environment to complete the process. If you expose it too early, if you bring in external opinions and energies before the metamorphosis is complete, you risk interrupting the entire journey. The silence isn't about hiding, it's about honoring the natural unfolding of creation. Every time you resist the urge to share your manifestation with others, you're building a reservoir of inner power. You're learning to trust your own knowing more than you need validation from the outside world. This is a profound shift in mindset, one that separates people who successfully manifest from those who perpetually struggle. The ones who struggle are constantly seeking confirmation, constantly looking for someone else to tell them it's possible, constantly needing reassurance. But when you hold your intention in silence, you're declaring to yourself and to the universe that your conviction is enough. You don't need anyone else's permission or belief. You've made a decision, and that decision is final. Now let me share something that completely changed my understanding of prayer, and it comes directly from Murphy's core teachings. Most of us were raised to believe that prayer is about asking for things, about pleading with a higher power to grant our wishes. We bow our heads, we list our desires, we hope that somehow, if we're good enough or persistent enough, our requests will be answered. But Murphy revealed the hidden truth that revolutionized spiritual practice for countless people. Prayer is not asking. Prayer is assuming. Let that sink in for a moment, because it changes everything. When you truly understand this principle, your entire approach to manifestation transforms. You're not sending requests into the void, hoping they'll be heard and considered. You're not in a position of lack, begging for something you don't have. Instead, you're assuming the feeling of the wish already fulfilled. You're claiming it as already done, already complete, already existing in the present moment. This isn't pretending. This isn't positive thinking for the sake of feeling better. This is recognizing a fundamental truth about how reality operates. Your assumptions create your experience. What you assume to be true about yourself and your life becomes the lens through which you perceive and interact with everything around you, and eventually those assumptions harden into facts. Murphy spent his entire career teaching this revelation. He understood that the subconscious mind is the creative medium that shapes our external circumstances, and it doesn't distinguish between what's real and what's vividly imagined. With feeling, when you assume something is true, when you feel it as an accomplished fact, your subconscious accepts that assumption and begins working tirelessly to make your external reality match your internal state. This is why the 21-second prayer we're exploring doesn't include any asking, any hoping, any wishing. It's pure assumption. It's declaring what already is, not requesting what might be. The impact of this shift cannot be overstated. When you pray from assumption rather than supplication, you're operating from a place of power rather than powerlessness. You're not a beggar at the feet of an unpredictable universe. You're a creator, consciously choosing the state you wish to embody and allowing that state to express itself through your life. If you're grasping the magnitude of this paradigm shift, write in the comments, "I assume it's already mine." This is where the real transformation occurs, in that subtle but powerful shift from future-oriented hoping to present moment knowing. When you engage with this prayer, you're not speaking to some distant future version of yourself who might one day have what you desire. You're embodying the reality of it being already complete, already accomplished, already existing in this very moment. This isn't about suspending disbelief or fooling yourself. It's about tapping into a deeper truth that Murphy spent decades trying to help people understand. The future you think you're waiting for is actually being created right now, in this present moment, through the state you're occupying. Think about how most people approach their desires. They say things like, "I hope I'll be successful someday," or "Maybe I'll find love eventually," or "If things work out, I'll be financially free." Every one of those statements is oriented toward a future that may or may not arrive. And here's the hidden truth. When you perpetually place your desire in the future, it stays in the future. You never actually catch up to it because you're always projecting it out ahead of you. It's like chasing the horizon. No matter how far you walk, it remains just as distant. But when you shift into the feeling of it being already done, already accomplished, you collapse that distance. You bring the future into the present through the power of assumption. This prayer technique operates entirely from that place of completion. You're not asking for anything to arrive. You're not requesting the universe to deliver something to you at some undefined point down the road. You're declaring that it exists now, in this moment, as a present reality that you're simply acknowledging and accepting. This is a radical departure from traditional prayer, and it's precisely why it works so powerfully. You're not in a state of lack trying to fill a void. You're in a state of fulfillment, recognizing what's already yours. And this is where the distinction between declaration and pleading becomes absolutely critical to understand. Pleading comes from desperation. It comes from a place of feeling powerless, of believing that your happiness depends on something outside of you finally cooperating with your wishes. When you plead, there's an underlying energy of, "I don't have this. and I need you to give it to me, please, please, please. That energy is the very thing that keeps your desire at arm's length, because you're constantly reinforcing the state of not having. You're making decisions from scarcity, and scarcity creates more scarcity. But declaration is something entirely different. A declaration is an awakening to what already is. It's not begging, it's not negotiating, it's recognizing. It's like suddenly realizing you've been sitting on a treasure chest your entire life without knowing it was there. The treasure was always yours, but you weren't aware of it until this moment of recognition. That's what this prayer does. It wakes you up to the reality that your desire isn't something separate from you that you need to chase down and capture. It's already part of your existence, waiting for you to claim it through assumption. Murphy understood that reality is far more flexible than most people realize. What we experience as fixed and unchangeable is actually responding constantly to our inner states, our assumptions, our habitual feelings about ourselves and our lives. When you shift from pleading to declaring, you're fundamentally changing your relationship with reality. You're no longer a victim of circumstances, hoping for mercy. You're a conscious creator, claiming your inheritance. This single shift in mindset can alter the entire trajectory of your manifestation journey, because you're no longer operating from a position of weakness. If you're feeling this shift happening within you right now, comment below, "I declare it done." And here's what makes this approach so liberating. You're not trying to convince anyone of anything. Not the universe, not God, not some cosmic force that needs to be persuaded to grant your wishes. The entire process is internal. It's happening within you, not outside of you. This is a revelation that completely transforms how you approach manifestation. You're not performing for an external judge who's deciding whether you're worthy enough or whether your request is valid. You're simply reminding your subconscious mind that the wish is already finished, already complete, already done. That's the only audience that matters. Your own inner creative power. Most people exhaust themselves trying to convince the universe through endless rituals, constant affirmations, vision boards they stare at for hours, hoping that if they just try hard enough, they'll finally get through. But Murphy's teachings reveal the hidden truth. The universe doesn't need convincing. Your subconscious doesn't need persuading. It needs clarity. It needs consistent feeling. It needs you to stop wavering between belief and doubt and simply settle into knowing. When you pray this 21-second prayer, you're not making your case to some distant authority. You're aligning your conscious awareness with what your subconscious is already capable of creating. You're removing the internal conflict that's been blocking the natural flow of manifestation. This is why the prayer feels so effortless when done correctly. There's no strain, no forcing, no desperate energy behind it. You're not pushing against resistance, because you finally understood that the resistance was never external. It was always internal. The moment you stop trying to convince and start simply assuming, everything changes. Your entire energy shifts from striving to receiving, from chasing to attracting, from hoping to knowing. And that shift is what your subconscious has been waiting for all along. It's been ready to deliver your desire, but it needed you to stop sending mixed signals, to stop oscillating between faith and fear, and to finally rest in certainty. And that brings us to one of the most beautiful aspects of this entire practice, resting in gratitude. Notice I said resting, not working, not forcing gratitude, not trying to manufacture a feeling that isn't authentic. When you truly assume that your desire is already fulfilled, gratitude becomes the most natural response in the world. Think about it. When something wonderful happens in your life, you don't have to remind yourself to feel grateful. It just arises spontaneously because you're experiencing something you value, something you appreciate having. That same spontaneous gratitude is what emerges when you successfully embody the state of already having what you desire. This isn't about faking thankfulness or trying to trick the universe into giving you what you want by pretending you're grateful. That's manipulative energy, and your subconscious can sense it immediately. Real gratitude comes from knowing, from that deep inner certainty that something is already yours. When you rest in that grateful state, you're confirming to every level of your being that the manifestation is complete. You're not grateful for something that might happen. You're grateful for something that is. This is the natural mindset of someone who has truly made the internal shift from wanting to being, from seeking to possessing, from future to present. Murphy taught that feeling is the secret, and gratitude might be the most powerful feeling you can cultivate because it naturally contains acceptance, abundance, and fulfillment all woven together. When you're genuinely grateful, you can't simultaneously be in a state of lack. If you're connecting with this truth, type in the comments, "Gratitude is my frequency." Now let me share something that took me years to fully grasp, something that's happening beneath the surface every time you practice this prayer. What's actually occurring in those 21 seconds isn't just a mental exercise or a spiritual ritual, it's a complete identity shift. And this is the mechanism that makes everything work. You're not just changing your thoughts or your words. You're fundamentally transforming who you are being in that moment. You're moving from the identity of someone who is waiting, someone who is hoping, someone who is searching for what they don't yet have, to the identity of someone who already possesses it, who already is it, who already lives from that reality. Most people don't realize that identity is the invisible force behind everything they experience. Your identity determines your decisions, your actions, your reactions, and ultimately, the reality you inhabit. If you identify as someone who struggles financially, that identity will filter every opportunity through a lens of limitation. If you identify as someone who's unlucky in love, that identity will sabotage connections before they even have a chance to flourish. Your identity is like an invisible filter that colors everything you perceive and creates a self-fulfilling prophecy in your life. This is why trying to change circumstances without changing identity rarely produces lasting results. You might temporarily shift things, but eventually you'll snap back to match whatever identity you're holding at the deepest level. Murphy understood this profoundly. He knew that the subconscious mind is loyal to whatever identity you consistently claim. It doesn't judge whether that identity serves you or limits you. It simply works tirelessly to create external circumstances that match your internal self-concept. So when you engage with this 21-second prayer, what you're really doing is claiming a new identity. You're declaring to your subconscious, "This is who I am now. This is the reality I inhabit. This is the state I'm choosing to embody." And when that message is delivered with feeling, with certainty, with the energy of it already being true, your subconscious accepts it and begins reorganizing your entire life to reflect that new identity. The transformation from waiting to being is perhaps the most crucial shift you'll ever make on your manifestation journey. Waiting is an identity of incompleteness. When you're waiting for something, you're affirming with every fiber of your being that it's not here yet, that you don't have it, that you're separate from it. Even if you're being patient about it, even if you're trusting the timing, you're still fundamentally identifying as someone who lacks what they desire. And as long as that's your identity, that's the reality you'll continue to create, a reality of perpetual waiting. But being is a completely different frequency. When you embody the state of being, you're no longer separate from your desire. You're not looking at it from a distance. You are it. You possess it. It's integrated into your sense of self. This isn't about pretending or acting as if. This is about recognizing that in the realm of consciousness, where all creation originates, you can occupy any state you choose. and the state you occupy becomes your lived experience. This is the hidden truth that revolutionizes everything. Your external world is constantly conforming to match your internal identity. If this is landing deeply for you, write in the comments, "I am what I seek." And here's where it gets truly fascinating, where the invisible becomes visible. Once you successfully hold that state of already having your desire, even if it's just for those 21 seconds, something remarkable begins to happen in your physical reality. The three-dimensional world around you, the circumstances, the opportunities, the people, the events, all of it starts to reorganize itself automatically to match your internal state. This isn't metaphorical. This is the actual mechanism of how reality operates. Your external experience is always reflecting your internal state back to you. It has to, because consciousness is the only creative force there is. Think about this for a moment. You're not trying to manipulate reality or force circumstances to bend to your will. You're simply changing your state, and reality responds naturally, the same way water flows downhill without effort. When you shift your identity, when you genuinely occupy the state of already having what you desire, the universe has no choice but to conform to that new pattern. It's not about the universe doing you a favor. It's about natural law operating exactly as it's designed to. Murphy called this the law of mind, and he spent his entire life demonstrating that it works with the same reliability as the law of gravity. Change your state, and your world changes. Hold a state consistently, and that state becomes your permanent reality. This is the hidden truth behind all genuine transformation. People think they need to change their circumstances first, and then they'll be able to feel differently. But that's backward. You have to feel differently first, occupy a different state, embody a different identity, and then the circumstances automatically shift to match. This is why forcing and striving rarely produce the results you want. You're trying to rearrange the external while maintaining the same internal state, and it doesn't work that way. The 3D world is the effect, not the cause. Your consciousness is the cause. When you finally grasp this, you stop being a victim of circumstances and become the conscious architect of your experience. Murphy's teaching on this was crystal clear and uncompromising. He said you pray best by claiming that you are already what you desire to be, not hoping to be, not trying to become, already are. This is about embodying the state in the present moment, not requesting it for some future delivery. When you claim something, you're taking ownership. You're declaring possession. You're not asking permission. You're not waiting for approval. You're simply recognizing what's already true at the level of consciousness and allowing that truth to manifest in form. This distinction between embodying and requesting completely changes the energy of your practice. Requesting keeps you in separation. It reinforces the gap between who you are now and who you want to become. But embodying collapses that gap instantly. In the moment you embody the state, you are that which you desire to be. There's no distance. There's no waiting period. There's only present moment reality, and when you can sustain that embodied state, even briefly, with genuine feeling and conviction, you've completed the creative work. Everything after that is just the natural unfolding of what you've already claimed. This is why the prayer is so powerful in its simplicity. You're not building up to something. You're not preparing yourself for a future blessing. You're claiming your inheritance right now in this moment, through the act of assumption and embodiment. If you're understanding this at a deep level, comment, "I embody my desire now." And this is where everything we've been discussing converges into one powerful practice. When you speak this 21-second prayer, and we'll do it together very soon, you need to understand that you won't be asking for anything at all. Not a single request will leave your lips. There will be no pleading, no hoping, no wishing for something to arrive from outside of you. Instead, something far more profound will happen. You'll be becoming. You'll be stepping into the identity of the person who already has what you desire, and you'll be doing it through the twin forces of assumption and feeling. This is the transformation that Murphy dedicated his life to teaching, and it's the mechanism that makes this prayer so devastatingly effective. Most people spend their entire lives in asking mode. They wake up asking for a better day. They pray asking for solutions to their problems. They set goals by asking the universe to deliver their dreams. And there's nothing inherently wrong with asking, but it keeps you locked in a specific relationship with reality, one where you're perpetually on the outside, waiting for something to be given to you. It's a position of dependency, of powerlessness, of hoping that external forces will be kind enough to grant your wishes. But becoming flips the entire dynamic. When you become, you're not waiting for anything external. You're activating something internal. You're claiming a state that exists within you, and you're allowing it to express itself through your life. This is the hidden truth that most spiritual teachings dance around but rarely state plainly. You don't get what you want. You become what you want, and then you experience it. The becoming is the bridge. It's the portal. It's the shift in consciousness that precedes every manifestation. When you become the person who already has abundant wealth, wealth flows to you naturally because you're no longer vibrating at the frequency of lack. When you become the person who is deeply loved, love shows up in your experience because you're no longer resonating with loneliness or rejection. The external always matches the internal. There are no exceptions to this law. And here's what makes this prayer so uniquely powerful. It compresses the entire journey of becoming into 21 seconds. You're not spending years trying to convince yourself you're different. You're not gradually working your way toward a new identity. You're making a decisive shift in this moment, right now, through the deliberate act of assumption, backed by genuine feeling. You're taking a quantum leap from who you were to who you're choosing to be. And in that leap, everything changes. Your decisions change because you're making them from a different state. Your energy changes because you're emanating a different frequency. Your perception changes because you're seeing through different eyes, the eyes of someone who already has, who already is, who already lives from fulfillment. Murphy knew that this kind of transformation doesn't require time if you have certainty. Time is only needed when you're gradually building belief. But when you can fully assume the state in a single moment, when you can feel it so completely that it becomes your reality right now, the transformation is instantaneous. If you're ready to make this shift with me, type in the comments, "I choose to become." Now, before we actually speak this prayer together, there's something essential we need to do first. You need to give yourself permission to relax. I know that might sound simple, almost too simple, but so many people carry tension in their bodies without even realizing it. Right now, wherever you are, I want you to consciously release that tension. Let your shoulders drop. Feel them soften. Feel the weight of stress and worry literally sliding off your body. Unclench your jaw if it's tight. Soften your forehead. Take a slow, deep breath, and as you exhale, imagine every bit of resistance, every ounce of doubt, every particle of stress leaving your system. This isn't just a physical relaxation, it's an energetic opening. You're creating space within yourself for the new state to enter and take root. The hidden truth is that tension blocks manifestation. When your body is tight, contracted, holding on to stress, you're sending a signal to your subconscious that something's wrong, that you're in danger, that you need to protect yourself. And in that protective state, you can't receive. You can't embody the feeling of already having what you desire because your entire system is braced for struggle. But when you consciously relax, when you give yourself permission to let go, you're signaling safety. You're telling your nervous system, it's okay. Everything is already taken care of. I can rest now. And from that state of rest, of ease, of softness, the prayer becomes infinitely more powerful because there's no internal resistance fighting against it. So take another moment right now. Really feel into your body. Where are you holding tension? Is it in your neck, your back, your chest? Wherever you find it, breathe into that space and consciously release it. This is part of the transformation. Learning to relax into your desires rather than straining toward them. Murphy understood that the subconscious responds to feeling, and you can't access the feeling of fulfillment when your body is screaming tension and lack. Relaxation is the doorway. It's the first step in becoming receptive to the new state you're about to claim. Now, as you're relaxing, I want you to bring something very specific to mind. One thing. Just one thing that you desire most right now in this moment. Don't try to think of everything you want. Don't make a mental list. Focus on the one desire that's calling to you most strongly. Maybe it's love, a relationship that fills your heart and makes you feel truly seen and cherished. Maybe it's money, financial freedom that allows you to live without constant worry about bills and expenses. Maybe it's healing, physical, emotional, or spiritual restoration that brings you back to wholeness. Maybe it's peace, that deep, unshakable calm that remains steady regardless of external circumstances. Maybe it's success, the achievement of a goal that's been driving you forward. Or maybe it's something entirely unique to your journey, something only you can name. Whatever it is, bring it clearly into your awareness right now. Don't just think about it. Intellectually, feel into it. What would it be like to already have this? What would change in your life? How would you move through your day differently? If you've identified your desire and you're ready for what comes next, write in the comments. My desire is clear. Good. Now here's the critical part, and this is where most people unknowingly sabotage themselves. When you visualize this desire, you cannot see it as something far away, something that exists in some distant future that you are hoping to reach someday. That perspective keeps you locked in separation, in the energy of not having. Instead, I want you to see it and feel it as something that already belongs to you right here, right now, in this present moment. This isn't about wishful thinking or fantasy. This is about shifting your perception to recognize what's already true in the realm of consciousness, even if the physical evidence hasn't caught up yet. Think about something you already possess, something you don't, and question having. Maybe it's the phone in your hand, the roof over your head, the ability to breathe. When you think about these things, there's no doubt, no wondering if they're yours. They simply are. You don't have to convince yourself, you don't have to hope they'll show up. They're integrated into your sense of reality so completely that you take them for granted. That's the exact feeling you need to cultivate around your desire right now. It's not coming. It's not on its way. It's here. It's yours. It belongs to you with the same certainty that your breath belongs to you. This shift in perception is the hidden truth behind all successful manifestation. Murphy taught that your subconscious mind accepts what you consistently impress upon it with feeling. When you see your desire as already yours, when you feel the reality of possession in the present moment, your subconscious has no choice but to accept that as fact and begin reorganizing your external circumstances to match. But if you're constantly projecting it into the future, your subconscious keeps it in the future. The timeline is determined by your assumption, by where you place it in your consciousness. So right now, take a moment, a real moment. Don't rush this. Close your eyes if you haven't already, and bring up that feeling of already having what you desire. Not hoping for it, not working toward it, already having it. How does it feel in your body? What's the quality of peace or excitement or fulfillment that comes with it? Let that feeling become tangible, real, almost touchable. The more vividly you can feel it, the more deeply it will impress itself upon your subconscious. This is the emotional foundation that makes the prayer work. Without this feeling, the words are just empty sounds. But with this feeling, the words become declarations of truth that reshape your reality. Let yourself sink into this state. Imagine making decisions from this place of already having. Imagine moving through your day with the quiet confidence of someone whose desire is fulfilled. Notice how different that feels from the energy of striving and seeking. This is the transformation. From the mindset of lack to the mindset of possession, from the journey of chasing to the journey of being. And in this moment, you're not preparing for some future state. You're inhabiting it now. You're claiming it now. You're becoming it now. If you're truly feeling this shift happening inside you, comment below. I feel it now. Perfect. You're in the right state now. You're relaxed. You're clear on your desire, and you're feeling it as already yours. This is the moment. We're about to speak the prayer together, and I want you to feel every single word as it leaves your lips. The prayer begins with a statement that immediately establishes the foundation of everything we've been discussing. You'll say, "I'm not asking for anything because it is already mine." Let that land for a moment. Notice what happens in your body when you speak those words. You're not petitioning, you're not requesting, you're declaring ownership of what's already yours. This single sentence collapses the entire illusion of separation between you and your desire. It's not out there somewhere, waiting to be given to you. It's already yours. You're simply acknowledging what already is. This is the hidden truth that transforms prayer from begging into claiming, from hoping into knowing. When you start from this place of already having, everything that follows carries a completely different frequency. You're not speaking from lack, you're speaking from fulfillment. You're not speaking from desperation, you're speaking from certainty. And that shift in energy, that transformation in your vibrational state, is what signals your subconscious to accept this new reality as true. Murphy spent decades teaching this principle because he understood that assumption is the only creative force. What you assume to be true becomes true because your entire being aligns with that assumption and creates circumstances to match it. After you establish that foundation, the prayer moves into declarations of oneness. You'll say, "I am one with my desire. I am one with love. I am one with abundance. I am one with peace." Each of these statements is dissolving the false boundary between who you think you are and what you desire to experience. Oneness means there's no separation. You're not over here and your desire is over there. You are your desire. You are love. You are abundance. You are peace. These aren't things you're trying to attract from outside yourself. They're qualities of consciousness that you're choosing to embody and express in this moment. This is such a radical shift from how most people relate to their desires. They see themselves as incomplete, as lacking something essential, and they believe that getting that external thing will finally make them whole. But the journey of true transformation is realizing you're already whole, already complete, and your desires are simply different expressions of the wholeness that's always been within you. When you declare oneness, you're recognizing this truth. You're not trying to become one with abundance through hard work and struggle. You are abundance. You're not trying to earn love through being good enough. You are love. The external manifestations are just reflections of the internal state you're claiming right now. This understanding completely changes your relationship with manifestation. You're not chasing anything. You're not trying to fill a void. You're simply allowing different aspects of your infinite nature to express themselves through your experience. And that's a far more empowering, far more peaceful way to create your reality. Drop a comment if this resonates. I am one with my desire. After you've declared your oneness with all that you desire, the prayer moves into one of the most powerful statements you can Make, I rest in the knowing that it is finished. Read that again slowly. I rest, not I struggle, not I work tirelessly, not I force and push, I rest. There's a profound peace embedded in that word, a deep surrender to the completion that's already occurred. And you're resting in knowing, not hoping or wishing or believing. Knowing is absolute. It's unshakable. It's the kind of certainty you have about the sun rising tomorrow. You don't doubt it. You don't question it. You simply know. When you declare that it is finished, you're making a statement that everything necessary for your manifestation has already been completed in consciousness. The work is done. The decision has been made. The transformation has occurred. This is what Murphy meant when he taught about the invisible reality preceding the visible one. Before anything manifests physically, it must first be completed in consciousness. And in the moment you assume it's finished, it is finished at that causal level. Everything. After that is just the natural unfolding, the physical catching up to the mental and spiritual reality you've already established. This is the hidden truth that changes everything about how you approach your desires. Most people exhaust themselves in endless doing, constantly trying to make things happen through physical action alone. But the real work, the creative work, happens in consciousness first. Once you've completed it there, once you've rested in the knowing that it is finished, you can relax. You can release the frantic energy. You can trust the process because you've already seen the end from the beginning. This doesn't mean you become passive or stop taking inspired action. It means your actions flow from certainty rather than desperation, from peace rather than anxiety. And this brings us to the next declaration that seals the entire prayer: I live from the end. This phrase is pure Murphy. He taught relentlessly about living from the end, about assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled and making decisions from that fulfilled state. Living from the end means you're not living from the journey of trying to get there. You're living as if you're already there. Your mindset is the mindset of someone who possesses what you desire. Your choices reflect the consciousness of having, not the consciousness of seeking. Your energy carries the frequency of completion, not incompletion. This is perhaps the most challenging aspect of manifestation work because it requires you to completely flip your perspective. You have to stop relating to your desire as something in the future and start relating to it as something in the present. You have to stop asking, how will I get there? And start asking, how do I live now that I'm already there? That's the shift. That's the transformation. And when you can sustain that state even briefly, even for 21 seconds with genuine feeling, you've planted a seed in your subconscious that must, by law, grow into physical form. Comment below if this is clicking for you. I live from the end. Now, as the prayer approaches its completion, you express something that might seem paradoxical if you don't understand the principle we've been exploring. You say, "Thank you, Father, for hearing me, loving me, and making it so." Notice the tense. You're not saying, "Thank you for what you will do," or "Thank you for considering my request." You're thanking for what is already done. This is gratitude for present fulfillment, not future possibility. And here's the hidden truth. Gratitude for what already is creates an energetic signature of receiving that your subconscious recognizes and amplifies. When you thank the creative power of the universe, whatever you call it, Father, Source, Divine Intelligence, the universe itself, you're acknowledging that you're not alone in this process. You're working in partnership with a force far greater than your conscious mind. But you're not thanking it for granting you a favor. You're thanking it for the immutable law that governs creation, for the fact that assumption hardens into fact, for the certainty that consciousness creates reality. You're grateful for being heard, for being loved, for being supported in this transformation. And that gratitude itself is an affirmation that the thing you desire is already yours, because you don't thank for something you're still hoping to receive. You thank for what you already possess. This is the culmination of everything Murphy and taught about prayer. It's not about convincing God or the universe to change its mind about you. It's about aligning yourself with the natural laws that already exist, laws that respond to your assumptions and your feeling states with absolute precision. When you express gratitude as if the manifestation is complete, you're operating in harmony with these laws rather than fighting against them. You're declaring to every level of your being that the work is finished, the prayer is answered, the desire is fulfilled. And then comes the final declaration, the seal that locks everything into place. It is done. It is done. It is done. 3 times. Not once, not twice. 3 times. This triple repetition isn't accidental or arbitrary. It's a powerful technique that imprints the statement deep into your subconscious mind through emphasis and certainty. Each repetition drives the truth deeper. The first, "it is done," establishes the declaration. The second reinforces it, removing any lingering doubt. The third seals it completely, making it an unshakable reality in your consciousness. By the time you've spoken it 3 times with feeling and conviction, there's no room left for questioning, no space for uncertainty to creep in. You've made your decision, you've claimed your reality, you've completed the creative act. This is the impact of deliberate repetition when used correctly. It's not mindless repeating, it's conscious imprinting. Each time you say, "it is done," you're building momentum, strengthening the vibration, solidifying the assumption until it becomes as real to you as anything you can touch or see. If you're feeling the power of these words, comment, "It is done." Now, after you've spoken that final declaration, after you've sealed the prayer with "it is done" 3 times, don't rush away from this moment. This is crucial. Take another deep breath with me. In through your nose, slow and deliberate. Hold it for just a second, and then out through your mouth, releasing everything. Feel that breath moving through your entire body, carrying the energy of the prayer into every cell, every fiber of your being. This isn't just a relaxation technique. This is the integration phase. You're allowing everything you just declared, everything you just claimed, everything you just became in those 21 seconds to settle deeply into your chest, into your heart center, into the core of who you are. This breath is the bridge between the prayer and your lived experience. It's the moment where the transformation you initiated in consciousness begins to anchor itself in your physical body. Your nervous system is registering the shift. Your energy field is recalibrating. Your entire being is coming into alignment with the new state you've just assumed. Don't underestimate the power of this simple act of breathing. It's grounding the spiritual work you just did into physical reality. It's saying yes to the transformation with your body, not just your mind. And here's something absolutely essential to understand. Pay attention to how you feel right now. There's likely a sense of calm, maybe even relief, washing over you. That feeling, that exact emotional state you're experiencing in this moment, is the creation vibration. This is the frequency that creates reality. This is what the universe responds to and manifests from, not your words, not your thoughts, your feeling. Murphy was emphatic about this hidden truth. Feeling is the secret. The emotional state you're in right now is literally broadcasting a signal into the quantum field, and that field must respond by organizing circumstances that match your vibration. This is why so many people fail at manifestation even when they're doing all the right techniques. They say the affirmations, they visualize, they follow the steps, but they never access the feeling. They never tap into that calm certainty, that peaceful relief that comes from truly knowing something is yours. They're still vibrating at the frequency of lack, even while speaking words of abundance. But when you complete this prayer correctly, When you really allow yourself to feel it, something shifts. The desperation dissolves. The anxious striving quiets. What remains is this serene confidence, this inner knowing that needs no external proof because it's already complete within you. This state of calm and relief isn't a byproduct of the prayer. It's the actual mechanism of creation. When you feel this way, you're literally in the same emotional frequency as having your desire fulfilled, and consciousness doesn't distinguish between the two. If you're feeling this profound shift right now, write, "I feel the shift." Think about what just happened in those 21 seconds. For that brief but powerful moment, you weren't asking for anything. You weren't doubting whether it would work. You weren't analyzing or questioning or second-guessing. You were simply being. You were inhabiting the state of already. Having, already being, already living from the fulfilled desire. And that right there is the language the universe understands and responds to. Not the language of hoping, not the language of trying, the language of being. When you are something, when you embody a state completely, reality has no choice but to reflect that state back to you, because that's how consciousness works. It's the fundamental law that Murphy dedicated his life to revealing. This is the hidden truth most people miss in their manifestation journey. They're so focused on doing, on techniques, on making things happen, that they forget the most powerful force is simply being. When you're in a state of being, there's no resistance, there's no internal conflict. You're not split between what you want and what you fear. You're unified, whole, complete in that moment. And from that unified state, creation flows naturally and effortlessly. The universe doesn't respond to your desperation or your pleading because those states carry the vibration of separation and lack. But it must respond to your being because being is the creative force itself expressing through you. Now, here's where the journey continues, and this part is just as important as the prayer itself. What you do immediately after the prayer determines how quickly and powerfully it manifests. And the first rule, the most critical guideline, is this: keep it to yourself. The power of what you just did comes from stillness, not from proving it to others or broadcasting it to the world. When you hold your manifestation close to your heart, when you protect it in that sacred inner space, you're maintaining the purity of the vibration you just created. You're not allowing external opinions, doubts, or skepticism to contaminate the seed you just planted. I know there's a natural impulse to share exciting things with the people in your life. When something feels good, when you've just had a profound experience, you want to talk about it. But in this case, that impulse needs to be redirected. This isn't about being secretive for dramatic effect. This is about understanding energy dynamics. Every time you expose your fresh manifestation to someone else's consciousness, you're potentially inviting their limiting beliefs, their doubts, their fears into the equation. Even people who love you and want the best for you carry their own conditioning, their own limitations about what's possible. And if they can't hold the same certainty you just claimed, their energy can create interference. This is why the ancient mystery schools always emphasized silence after spiritual practices. They understood that sacred work needs protection, especially in its early stages when it's still forming, still taking root in consciousness. If you understand the power of sacred silence, comment, "I protect my energy." What happens when you maintain this silence is actually remarkable. Your manifestation begins to grow quickly, accelerating in ways that wouldn't be possible if you were constantly exposing it to external energies. Think about a plant growing. When you keep digging it up to check on the roots, to show people how it's progressing, to examine whether it's working, you disturb the entire process. But when you plant it, cover it with soil, and leave it alone in that dark, protected environment, it grows rapidly and naturally. The same principle applies here. The silence isn't passive. It's actively nurturing. It's creating the Ideal conditions for your desire to develop from invisible seed to visible manifestation without interference or contamination. This is one of those hidden truths that separates people who manifest consistently from those who struggle. The ones who struggle are constantly checking, constantly talking about their desires, constantly seeking validation that it's working. But the ones who succeed understand that manifestation requires a period of gestation, a sacred incubation time, where the transformation is happening behind the scenes, invisible to the outer world, but very real in the realm of consciousness. Your job isn't to monitor every step or prove it's working. Your job is to protect the space you've created through the prayer and allow the natural unfolding to occur. Now, even though you're maintaining silence, you'll start noticing things. And this is where it gets exciting. Within hours, sometimes even minutes, subtle shifts begin happening in your physical reality. You might receive a text message from someone you were just thinking about. You might stumble upon information that's exactly what you needed. You might encounter an unexpected opportunity that aligns perfectly with your desire. These aren't random coincidences. These are confirmations. These are the universe's way of showing you that your prayer has been received, accepted, and is already being answered in the physical realm. The key is to recognize these signs without becoming desperate for them. When they show up, and they will, simply smile inwardly. Acknowledge them as evidence that the transformation is unfolding exactly as it should. Don't get caught up in needing more proof or bigger signs. The subtle ones are often the most powerful because they demonstrate that reality is responding to your new state immediately. A shift in consciousness always precedes a shift in circumstances, and these little synchronicities are the first ripples of that shift becoming visible. Murphy taught that assumption creates facts, and these early signs are the facts beginning to form. They're the bridge between the invisible and the visible, between the mental and the physical. When you notice them, you're witnessing the creative process in action, seeing your internal state starting to materialize in your external experience. If you're ready to stay alert for these confirmations, comment, "I'm watching for signs." But here's something fascinating about Murphy's teachings that most people misunderstand. He famously said that your assumption, even if it seems completely false initially, will harden into fact if you persist in it. People often interpret this to mean they need to spend weeks, months, or years repeating affirmations and visualizations until eventually their desire shows up. But that's not what this prayer technique is about. This isn't about long-term persistence or trying to convince your subconscious over time. This is about immediate certainty. This is about stepping into such a complete state of knowing in those 21 seconds that persistence becomes unnecessary because the work is already finished in that moment. The difference is profound. Persistence is needed when you're still wavering, when part of you believes and part of you doubts, so you have to keep reinforcing the assumption until it finally takes root. But when you access genuine certainty, when you truly feel it as already done in those 21 seconds, you've compressed what might have taken months into a single transformative moment. You're not building toward conviction, you're claiming it instantly. This is the hidden truth that makes this technique so powerful. It's designed for immediate impact, not gradual change. You're making a decisive shift right now, not preparing to make one eventually. And here's the mechanism that makes this work, the principle Murphy spent his entire career explaining. Once your subconscious mind accepts the feeling that your desire is real, it automatically becomes your new reality. Not might become, not could become, does become. It's automatic because your subconscious is the creative medium that shapes your entire experience. And here's the key. Your subconscious cannot distinguish between something you've vividly imagined with genuine feeling and something that's physically real right in front of you. To your subconscious, there's no difference. A memory, a present experience, and a vividly imagined future scene all register the same way when they're accompanied by authentic emotion. This is why the feeling component is so critical. You can repeat words all day long, but if there's no feeling behind them, your subconscious remains unconvinced. But when you feel something deeply, when you generate the actual emotional experience of having your desire fulfilled, your subconscious accepts it as fact. It doesn't argue. It doesn't question whether it's really happening. It simply accepts the impression and begins working automatically to make your external circumstances match that internal impression. This is the law of mind in action, operating with absolute precision. The transformation happens the moment acceptance occurs. Your subconscious starts making different decisions on your behalf, noticing different opportunities, guiding you toward different actions, attracting different people and circumstances. Type in the comments if you're grasping this. My subconscious accepts it now. Now, one of the most beautiful aspects of this prayer is its flexibility. You can use it anytime you need it. Morning, when you're setting the tone for your day. Night, before you drift into sleep, when your subconscious is most receptive.